morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Saturday, November 25th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread. First card we are starting our day off with today is the 5 of Wands. I'm not surprised to see this, my friends. We started our last reading with that Tower card. Now, one of the things that we've been seeing has been the fact that there has been a little bit of a rockiness. There has been some upsets. We are not worried about Tower moments. Why are we not worried about Tower moments? Because Tower moments are gifts. They move us away from situations and circumstances that do not feel like they are in our best interest. They create that point of refinement. They create that point of identification. We need to be able to see where the hurdles are so that we can avoid them. However, we do see that there is this moment right now that is rising to the surface as it relates to tangible or internal conflicts that need to be navigated right now. If this is the energy of the divine union and partnership, this could be more of that outside looking in approach that we're potentially been seeing as it relates to the partnership itself. There has been a moment that we've been recognizing even for the divine union energy right now of feeling like one must need to work in more of a defensive mode to be able to protect what you've effectively been trying to create for yourself right now. It's going to feel a lot like protecting your peace, as it were, potentially even choosing your battles. One of the things that we saw going into some of the energy that we saw just a few days ago for the divine unions was a moment of observation and really asking oneself to pick their battles, to ask, what do you feel is worth going through modalities of conflict on versus spaces or places that you're effectively having to look at and say that isn't necessarily something that we need to carry with us as we continue forward from this point. This has a lot to do with the fact that we did even see that for a lot of the divine union energy, a lot of this feeling of conflicts that potentially coming towards you right now isn't necessarily things that are coming from your partner exactly, but more from outside influences that need that guidance, need that support from the divine union energy. Masculine and feminine, we're even going through a moment that we saw that feminine may have been feeling a point of frustration going to masculine as it relates to some of the energy around them that is not necessarily in the most ease space, and saying to the masculine energy, is there something that I did wrong? Is there something that I said wrong? Masculine even potentially having to give that point of easement to feminine and saying, no, you didn't. You were just trying to communicate to someone something that is a very hard lesson to embody. For the energies in divine union right now, it's navigating or mitigating some of that fallout, whatever we saw from that Tower experience that is creating this state or space of really potentially even coming from a space of feeling like one needs to defend or protect oneself emotionally or spiritually right now. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is working to come into divine union. This is potentially some of that point of conflict that we saw that was occurring. And I stress this when we saw going into some of this energy over the last few days. I really tried to amplify that if you were trying to go into divine union right now, it was very, very important that you weren't moving away from the divine union, ignoring any of those problems, trying to put them off. Because we basically saw that masculine and feminine trying to come into divine union right now, we're almost creating a little bit of a powder keg moment, because we effectively identified that this was masculine energy that was trying to put something off to deal with later, while feminine was trying to say there is no putting off later. Something needs to be addressed now. Something cannot be put off later. Feminine, if feminine was going towards a bunch of energy right now where they were going to articulate on what they were experiencing, we saw that this could have potentially amplified the rift that was potentially occurring in this divine union energy, specifically due to the fact that we saw that on one side, feminine energy was getting validation on the actions they've taken, on the steps that they've moved through right now, while masculine was potentially going into the same scenarios, mirroring the feminine, but potentially experiencing and receiving the opposite. This may be experiencing or causing right now some feelings of conflict, any of that buried energy that may have happened from a feminine seeing a masculine pulling away from them at a time that they wanted them to move closer, and masculine potentially feeling like they need to articulate and defend their own point of view or their own stand at this time. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is some of that aggressive energy that we saw that was coming into the feminine modality prior to us having that moment the other day with the Tower point, because we effectively saw that this was a feminine energy if in separation, amplifying or articulating some of their experiences up to this point and immediately getting support, getting positive encouragement from the healthy karmic energy that's around them at this time. This is potentially creating that sense of either internal or external conflict right now, because what we're really identifying is this is an energy that is feeling that frustration, that anger as it relates to circumstances and situations resulting or coming in a certain way that they didn't necessarily ideally aspire or desire for. Masculine energy and separation right now, this is some of that externalized conflict that's potentially embodying right now, or this is also a bit of that internal conflict, because what we are effectively seeing at this time is this is a masculine energy that's either in separation, but as you are articulating your experience to those around you, you're not necessarily getting that support that you may have ideally aspired for, but instead you're getting some of these notes. And these notes that you're getting from the healed karmic energy around you that's trying to give you some points of advice or easement isn't making things easier. It's making things harder, because it's creating either a sense of internal conflict if you are trying to navigate that juxtaposition of what you did versus what others are now telling you that their own perception of it is, or this is a moment that you are getting very reactionary and potentially pushing away from a lot of energy right now because you don't necessarily want to hear what they have to say. Continuing to get clarification, second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 3 of Cups in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now, if in divine union and partnership, this is more of that amplification that we're effectively seeing right now, that is feeling a bit like there is this point of having to experience some of the frustration on the energy around you right now that is feeling doubly frustrating, because it's almost feeling like it's not something that you would particularly want to embody at this time. Masculine and feminine energy that are in divine union right now, this isn't a moment that you're really feeling like you just kind of want to jump on the bandwagon as it relates to some of the energy that's around you. We almost see, again, it's this moment of wanting to go more inwards, wanting to go more isolated to a certain degree. And this is potentially going to articulate right now as it relates to any feeling of conflict that's arising right now in any energy that feels like it is outside of the divine union and partnership. Okay, because effectively, this is almost a moment that we're seeing that for the feminine and masculine partnership right now, even in divine union, this is more of that amplification, as I mentioned, about trying to identify and articulate what feels like it is your problem versus what it's not your problem. And what we appreciate for the masculine and feminine energy right now is this isn't something that we see that the divine union energy is chasing after anyone or anything for approval. It's almost this moment right now of them effectively coming from a very defensive standpoint. Why are we seeing that? Because we saw over the last few days that a lot of this divine union energy had energy coming towards them that needed assistance. And this could be coming through in the fact that whatever kind of assistance, advice, guidance the divine union was providing external to the partnership itself wasn't easily taken. It wasn't giving someone a pat on the back so much as it was trying to give someone some exposition on hard truths, things that need to be seen, things that need to be observed, things that need to be recognized. And this is almost a moment that we're seeing that for the divine union energy, this is a point that if there's any energy that is coming through as oppositional or potentially coming through as creating that hurdle after the masculine or feminine tried to effectively assist or guide them, this is almost masculine and feminine in divine union saying, that's not necessarily our problem. It's just something that we need to navigate. Masculine and feminine energy that is trying to come into divine union and partnership right now, this is the hurdle that's effectively happening, because especially if this was divine union energy that went to other people during this time of crisis and brought the problems there, this wasn't something that reinforced the partnership. It's one that has now effectively pulled them even further apart. And this could be a moment right now where both energies are looking at the energy that is around the other person and feeling some of that frustration or anger that the energy around the partnership itself that hasn't even fully formed yet isn't necessarily having a good influence on the possibility of the partnership forming. This is why we see that for the energies right now that we're going or continuing forward into divine union, this is a moment that you're pushing past anything that anyone effectively said and basically almost coming into a more defensive role of the partnership. So again, this is some of that conflict energy that's either happening in terms of what someone gave you, the guidance someone gave, versus whether you're taking that guidance and projecting it onto the divine, the energy that you're trying to move into divine union with, right? Is this a moment? And it's going to feel a little bit oppositional. It's almost going to feel a little bit like, whose side are you on? I would really amplify right now to make sure that if you're trying to move into divine union and partnership, you're not going into any of those modalities of being like, well, X said this and X said what that, and I told blah, blah, blah what's happening, and this is what they said to me. Because that's something that we're seeing here is not necessarily going to make a point of easement. So more as it's going to lead you further into separation. Now, masculine and feminine energy that are in separation right now, this is effectively why you're in separation, because what did we see effectively happen right now? We saw that feminine energy, like potentially if this was a masculine that was not coming towards the feminine at this time, brought their problems, brought their concerns. Feminine had a lot of healthy karmic energy around them, and feminine potentially brought a lot of their frustrations to the doorstep of some of this healed, positive karmic energy. What was the message that the feminine got around the masculine energy that was giving them all these problems or creating all of these difficulties? That was almost the feminine energy getting further amplification or reinforcement right now of energy around them saying, don't want anything to do with that. Keep away from that. That's not something that's for you. That's clearly something that isn't working in your benefit. It isn't supporting you, so you should just let it go. For feminine energy and separation right now, this is that feeling of frustration, because this is almost the observation that we saw that the feminine energy received if articulating about their separation, of other energy amplifying to them that there's something about that masculine that is giving indications of potentially not making a choice towards the feminine, or amplifying feminine's own fears or doubts as it relates to some of the unhealed energy or the unconfirmed relationships or circumstances that are surrounding a masculine that have not been further clarified or identified. Now, masculine energy and separation right now, this is why we see this could be coming through right now and feeling like a lot more of an isolating experience, specifically because we are identifying right now that for the masculine energy that is moving right now in a modality of separation, this is a moment that we see that the masculine energy may have simultaneously also brought their concerns, also brought their problems to the energy that's surrounding them right now, but instead of potentially getting that support, instead of getting that amplification on the fact that something here is something that they should be getting supported in, this is almost a masculine that's potentially feeling that the energy around them isn't necessarily taking their side on something, maybe even trying to articulate to them that the masculine's own ability of leaving their options open to a certain degree is what is causing this sense of conflict in the first place. This is the observation that we're effectively identifying right now that masculine is seeing of other energy effectively trying to bring that healing in. For some of the masculine energy right now, this is going to feel like a little bit of that upgrade, is taking that moment of having that observation, recognizing the adjustments that need to be made. For other masculine energy and separation right now, this could be pushing off on a lot of energy right now and just being like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be near you. I don't want to talk to you. You guys don't understand. Taking a very defensive stance. Center card in our 5-card spread for today is, we do like to see this though. We like our Page of Cups. Masculine and feminine energy right now. This is almost, we keep seeing that for the divine union energy, this is what the masculine keeps trying to bring forward to the feminine. And this was maybe even potentially creating that sense of frustration. This could even be creating that sense of frustration right now in the divine union energy. This is more of a continuation that we're identifying of the masculine being in a much more carefree or lighthearted modality throughout the duration of this week, if in divine union and partnership. It's like the divine union and partnership is bringing out the childlike energy in the masculine right now. This is masculine almost again going through difficult circumstances or situations with the feminine. Feminine feeling the weight and anxiety of outside energy pushing in. And masculine almost saying to the feminine as a point of support, so what? Like, so what? Who cares? Who cares about that outside energy? Who cares about those difficulties? Who cares about those hurdles? This is, again, the exact same message that we saw that the masculine was going into the tower energy that we saw last time we did our reading, which is feminine bearing the weight of it, feeling the anxiety, potentially even almost like crisis management mode that we saw the feminine in over the last few days. Masculine just almost saying to the feminine, it's only, this is the same exact message we received, it's only your problem if you choose to make it your problem. It's only your problem if you choose to make it your problem. We don't need to choose to make it our problem. We just need to effectively continue to go and do the things that we feel are best for ourselves, allowing that to be that point of holding on to that source of joy. Feminine, you may be seeing this on the part of the masculine right now, and even if in divine union and partnership, this may be creating a little bit of that additional problem. Why are we seeing this effectively? Because again, for the energy that is in divine union right now, this is a feminine that feels like the masculine is not taking something seriously enough. This potentially could be a moment of feminine looking to masculine being like, you're not taking this seriously enough. This is not necessarily a joke. This isn't a game. This is potentially something that does bear some like consequences or circumstances that need to be addressed. So again, masculine and feminine energy, even in divine union right now, this is some of that conflicting energy. There could even be, again, this, we keep seeing that for some point of, there is some point that has to be navigated here as it relates to masculine and feminine energy, even if in divine union right now, having to have some discussions about some of the energy that is surrounding the partnership, not necessarily the partnership itself. And again, looking with some optics right now in terms of some conflict points that potentially are being created as it relates to some advice that was potentially tried to be given, but not necessarily taken at the intentionality that it was supposed to be offered by, but instead almost amplifying or articulating someone that is thinking from a very one-sided or unilateral approach. Masculine and feminine energy trying to come into divine union right now, this is the blocker that's effectively causing any of that friction point as it relates to coming into the divine union frequency, specifically because this is a feminine energy that is potentially looking at masculine and feeling like the masculine energy is not necessarily moving in a vibration of care or concern for the feminine. I'm really seeing here that there may have been a lot of energy that moved into separation over the last couple of days, specifically because this is a feminine that is now looking at masculine and feeling, again, if masculine made their other obligations the priority instead of dealing with any of the ongoing problems right now related to the partnership, this is feminine that is feeling a lot of conflict because this is a feminine energy that feels like the masculine is potentially prioritizing outside obligations against the partnership, which is effectively leading the masculine not to feel like they're in a modality of being able to come into partnership. The feminine is observing masculine and effectively saying to them to a certain extent, you don't effectively care about divine union. You only care about your own joy. You only care about your own easement. That childlike energy that we saw that was coming out in the masculine and divine union right now is looking as a negative to the feminine, because this could even be a masculine that's now trying to come towards the feminine in a more lighthearted manner, but the feminine is feeling very oppositional to that. Masculine, if trying to come into divine union with feminine right now, this could be a moment that you're feeling or experiencing some point of blowback. You could be experiencing right now maybe even that feeling that everything seemed fine, and suddenly the feminine energy is feeling more oppositional. Masculine, you could even be going through a moment right now and almost saying to the feminine, who have you been talking to? What have you been saying? What effectively occurred? What's created this change? Because this is a masculine that may be feeling or experiencing or seeing something where they feel like the feminine energy was around others and is now gotten much more oppositional to the masculine as a result. But we got indications as to why, because feminine was in separation. Feminine was in separation with masculine and expressing their doubts and fears. Those doubts and fears were amplified by the positive supportive energy around the feminine right now. So this is even going to be eventually create a lot of problems right now as it relates to the partnership energy, because again, the only way to be able to come into partnership right now is almost masculine having to deeply reaffirm their commitment to the feminine. But there's a lot now of energy here that needs to be effectively accounted for that's happened in the intervening days. Now, masculine and feminine that are in separation right now, this is effectively why we see that there is this point of separation. Feminine energy is, again, not necessarily in a space or place. They're not going back to any situations or circumstances that have caused them any degree of difficulty or harm. Feminine energy is feeling right now quite oppositional. This could come up with a little bit of that fire energy that the feminine may be feeling right now. And I have to stress that this could even set off a lot of feminine energy right now towards masculine that they feel is only coming towards them from a space or place of wanting to like concentrate on their own pleasure, on their own delight. This is feminine energy almost like pushing back on the masculine in this capacity, or even amplifying and articulating to them and saying like, what is your long-term plan? What is your long-term purpose? Because this is a feminine energy that is feeling the frustration that a lot of the masculine coming towards them right now doesn't seem to have that plan, just seems focused on their own delight and their own self-interests. Now, masculine energy that is in separation right now, this is a moment that may be feeling like a little bit of a head scratcher, because again, this is masculine energy that is trying to move into a space or place of easement. But masculine, again, we're almost getting that sense of feeling like you're knocking on doors, and a lot of those doors aren't necessarily opening in the degree that they were effectively in the past. This is masculine almost feeling, again, that outside-in approach of having some experiences right now of masculine. If this is a masculine that chose their autonomy or their options, it's not the fact that those options are creating a sense of abundance right now. It's more the fact that those options are potentially creating a sense of conflict. Masculine, this is almost trying to move right now in a modality of seeing where you feel that offer will be accepted of easement and delight, because we still see you in this childlike energy. The problem in separation right now is the fact that that energy isn't necessarily meeting with a lot of the positivity that you may have seen before. It's almost like creating this like something that feels like that shut door approach. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is 2 cards coming out for our fourth card, and we have here our Queen of Cups in its reversal in combination with our 10 of Cups. So what we're effectively seeing, and this is why we see these modalities right now, the feminine and masculine are in very, very, very different places. Why do we see this right now? Because we are effectively identifying right now masculine and feminine, even in partnership right now, there could be a lot of focus and discussion about looking towards the long term. There are some moments right now in divine union that are creating some spaces or places of feeling frustration in the moment, potentially as it relates to some of the energy surrounding the divine union partnership. Masculine is almost amplifying to feminine and saying like, listen, we don't necessarily let ourselves get too concerned about that. It isn't necessarily something that is our problem. We just need to focus on what is important. We need to focus on what is stabilizing. Feminine is going through something where, again, what are we seeing here? Feminine is taking these moments with a lot more emotional dysregulation. There's something here that feels very emotionally overwhelming. Why are we seeing this? Because this is feminine energy that seeks out outside approval more than the masculine does. This is feminine that almost like potentially is like seeking out permission or validation from energy outside of partnership. So feeling the weight of some of this potentially creates some of this more struggle energy. Masculine, we are effectively seeing to a certain extent, is almost trying to create this sense of easement to the feminine, saying you don't need to worry about these things. It isn't as fundamentally important as you think that it might be. This is something that we have to think about the long term and allowing that to be our focus. While feminine right now, there's something about this immediate moment that feels extremely, incredibly emotionally overwhelming. This could lead to some points of fracture right now, even in the divine union energy. It's really important that you do everything you can to support each other at this time, because there's a moment right now of masculine, potentially feminine, feeling like masculine is undervaluing the significance of something or undervaluing that emotional overwhelm that the feminine's feeling, while masculine, you may be feeling like the feminine energy is overly worked up, is overly dramatizing, is potentially in a space or place where they're allowing themselves to get too emotionally worked up over something, and it's not necessarily coming through in a positive way because you're trying to help them see the bigger picture. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is moving into divine union or divine partnership, what we're effectively identifying at this time is, again, this is trying to prepare for what feels like some point of overwhelm that's effectively occurred. Masculine is potentially trying to move towards feminine right now, again, if trying to come into divine union. But the problem is the feminine is looking at a masculine right now and weighing them and really asking themselves if the actions of the masculine in this present moment jive with the feminine's own perception of long-term manifestation goals. This is a feminine energy that isn't just allowing energy in right now because of a sense of desire or because of a sense of delight. This is feminine energy that's using that maturation process to really ask themselves, can they see this energy changing or shifting in the long term, coming into a point of seriousness? Or is this something that the feminine energy feels like they need to accept to be able to have any possibility of coming into partnership with this energy? This is effectively what we're seeing right now that is creating that friction point in a feminine energy that's trying to come into divine union right now. Because this is almost a feminine that is looking at a masculine and saying, do I enjoy the things I do with them? Yes. Do I enjoy the time I spend with them? Potentially, yes. But is there a possibility of this moving in that vibration in the long term? Is this something that feels like there's a point of maturation and growth? Does it have an ability to move into that long-term manifestation goal? Or is this just creating moments of sporadic delight and easement that don't necessarily have longevity? This is why we see that the feminine is going through a moment of emotional overwhelm right now as they see some of the masculine energy that's trying to come towards them to build that divine union. Masculine, you are also potentially feeling this right now, but this has more to do with looking at a feminine that you feel is in a state or place of emotional overwhelm. This is masculine almost looking at this right now, feeling a need or desire to go into a state of easement, go into a state of fun, trying to have more of that ease vibration. And this is creating some problematic territory here because this is almost creating a space or state where you feel like the feminine energy is either disengaging, pulling their emotionality from you, or they're emotionally overbearing on you. They're giving you too much emotionality because there's a lot of conflict energy here. And this is masculine that is effectively struggling right now because this is a masculine observing that something having to do with outside energy around them right now, or some questions of outside energy and how they move right now, is effectively causing a point of uncertainty as it relates to some of the feminine energy around them at this time, because masculine energy is almost feeling like if in divine union right now, they need to choose between some of the options that they've left open for themselves right now or the long-term manifestation goal with the particular feminine energy. For the masculine, this is feeling like a little bit of that weighing that's happening again as well, reflecting where we find the feminine in trying to come into divine union. So again, focusing on conflict is going to lead you back into separation right now. The way through this is building towards the long-term manifestation goals with each other and requiring and talking about what you need to adjust to be able to get into that modality. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, this is why we see that the energy is in separation, because feminine energy right now is feeling a lot of frustration, a lot of potential anger right now, not necessarily based on connections to masculine that they feel like they've completely removed away from, but feeling the frustration of masculine energy that does not feel like they have their eye on the bigger picture. Feminine is leaving themselves open right now to masculine energy if in separation. This is feminine energy that we see has been closing a lot of chapters, closing a lot of doors, leaving themselves receptive and open to things right now. The important thing that we see, that like lock in the key right now for a feminine energy being accommodating or opening up to new masculine energy at this time, is a masculine that has like an immediate sense of delight or easement, trying to bring that positivity to feminine, but also someone that is able to articulate on their long-term plans, on their long-term goals, on what that path looks like, on what they're effectively achieving or desiring for themselves, but more importantly, what do they desire in partnership. But even now we see that the feminine energy is staying kind of closed off and rigid and masculine because feminine feels to a certain extent that they've been deceived in this area in the past. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is clarification coming through right now with our Page of Wands energy. Now, masculine and feminine energy that are in divine union or divine partnership right now, this has a lot to do. A lot of the hurdles that we're seeing, what are these hurdles coming from right now for the energy in divine union and partnership right now? They're coming from outside energy. They're coming from the obligations of outside energy. They're coming from the circumstances of outside energy. There's coming from a lot of points of having to feel like you need to offer clarity to energy that is around you at this time, or advice. What did we see was even happening over the last few days? That feeling of trying to go forward to people that were asking for advice, asking for guidance, potentially even other like masculine energy in separation. But something about that energy, that message that was given or received, wasn't necessarily something that came through as a space or place of leaving further positivity, rather creating some sense of conflict, as it were, right? This is a lot of that moment right now of having that point of trying to articulate, if in divine union partnership, through communication, what feels like it is beneficial versus what is not necessarily going to be received. For a lot of the masculine energy and feminine that are in divine union partnership right now, this is that moment of kind of taking a little bit of a c'est la vie approach as it relates to some circumstances or situations. If there are any points of conflict, it's almost this point of having to have a point of identification or amplification on feeling like the energy around you doesn't necessarily understand what you're trying to tell them, doesn't necessarily want to take the advice that they potentially even asked you for to the full understanding or breadth that you were trying to provide it. There may be some frustrations right now in terms of feeling misunderstood. But again, what is masculine doing right now? And this could even specifically be to feminine having to deal with some outside energy around them at this time. Masculine is effectively supporting the feminine at this time, saying, don't worry about it. Don't worry about other people so much. Who cares what other people think? Feminine saying, I care what other people think. Feminine saying, I care what other people think a great deal. So this is what we're almost seeing. This is like the conflict point in divine union, is like the misarticulation in terms of how the feminine feels about something versus the masculine saying it's not that big a deal. And that is almost this point that we're seeing that is causing that frustration point in the divine union energy. Now, masculine and feminine energy that are trying to come into divine union, everybody cares. Everybody cares right now. That's because that has everything. What other people have to say has to do specifically with the potentiality and possibility of the divine union. I warned you guys that if you are in divine union or trying to come into divine union right now, and you are moving away from each other during this time, and feminine was trying to say to masculine, like, we need to talk about this, and masculine was saying, like, I don't have time to talk about this. This is feminine that almost immediately went back into separation. Why? Because feminine had a lot of positive karmic energy around them. So what did feminine do? Feminine went ahead and talked about it. They just didn't talk about it with the masculine energy that they're trying to talk to about it. They went and they talked to energy that was receptive to talking to them. And what did the feminine energy receive from the positive karmic energy that was receptive to talking about them, about the problems that they were trying to discuss with the masculine, but the masculine was potentially saying they did not have the time or energy to discuss? The feminine energy was effectively potentially told by the energy around them in this modality, if someone doesn't have the ability or time to discuss things that are problematic to you, that is an energy that is not making you the priority. That is an energy that is showing you that that is not necessarily an energy that is committed to making sure that you're in a state of easement. And this is why we see that a lot of this divine union energy is now moving right back into separation, because we now see the masculine's trying to come back to the feminine, and the feminine's like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why? Because feminine saying, I spoke to blah, 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 and they said blah, blah, blah. Like, this is what we're seeing here. This is because feminine was basically said they got amplification of their deepest anxieties and fears if they communicated this to other energy that's around them right now. Masculine energy trying to come into divine union with feminine right now, especially if you didn't take my advice, if you weren't working with them right now to try to ease these things, if you tried to take a little like breather to address other energy around you, this is now a moment that you're kind of seeing the blowback on that to a certain extent, because this is a masculine that's effectively trying to come to a feminine right now, and the feminine saying, I don't know if there's any possibility of that coming through, because you chose the time with them, you chose your other obligations over making something right with me. Like, that's what's happening right now. So this is going to potentially feel like a conflict point for the energy trying to come into divine union right now, because that is effectively what the feminine's expressing in the masculine. Now, masculine and feminine that are working through this hurdle, this was a masculine energy that effectively took my advice and did not do this. Instead, spent the portion of time trying to ease with the feminine, not letting this be a break point, but allowing this to be a point of further building in separation, in divine union, even through a moment that there were a lot of outside obligations at play. And in those energies, those are the ones that are effectively moving forward right now, because this is a feminine that says that they feel the overwhelm of missing a masculine, but a masculine that was very communicative throughout. If there were any communication breaks over the last couple of days, the energy is potentially very much back into separation. This is why. Feminine energy is almost leaving themselves open to new, this is a feminine energy that is, again, leaving themselves open to new possibilities, new energy of masculine right now, even if their heart might not necessarily be in it. This is almost a feminine energy, and I need to stress for any energy in separation right now of feminine, making sure that you're not doing a point of overcompensating with some of the emotional overwhelm that you're feeling right now by just allowing new energy in. Because we see that a lot of this is almost coming from a state or space of aggression right now in feminine as it relates to a masculine that they feel like is effectively wasting their time, or has already wasted their time, or is effectively not shown any indication of changing. While masculine energy in separation right now, this is a moment that we see that masculine is feeling the full weight of a lot of energy around them right now that they don't necessarily feel is coming through in a way that feels productive, because it's requiring some sense of change. Why? Because we see that masculine, if in separation, has been spending a lot of time getting that point of articulation from positive, healthy karmic energies around them. But the overarching message that the outside energy is giving the masculine right now, if in separation, is that they don't take things seriously enough, that they're moving too much around their own personal interests, and that may be effectively why some of these points of conflict have effectively arisen. This is why we see that for some of the masculine energy right now, this is either coming through in a modality of saying fresh new start and saying, I'm going to have a point of accommodation. I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to try a new approach. This is the masculine energy in separation trying to take those notes and move forward with them. Or this is a masculine energy that's effectively saying to the other energy around them, you don't understand. That's not what's happening. No, this is them. This could even be the masculine trying to project. If this is not the lesson learned, this is an energy that's projecting and saying, no, this isn't a me problem, it's a them problem. If they just could be more emotionally balanced, if they could be more emotionally regulated, this wouldn't effectively happen. Not necessarily taking into account what may have caused the emotional dysregulation in the first place, which is what some of the healthy karmic energy might be trying to express in the masculine right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Five of Wands in combination with our Three of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Cups in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now, this is the support that we see effectively is happening for the divine union and partnership energies. Because while we are identifying that a lot of this source of conflict isn't necessarily in turn within the divine union, it's external to it. It has everything to do with the difference in terms of how the feminine and masculine are bearing it. Feminine is over catastrophizing potentially. Feminine is getting emotionally overwhelmed by the burdens of other people on the partnership. And masculine saying, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If they're like energy that isn't going to be like on our side in divine union, it's not our responsibility to bring them onto our side. Masculine saying, that's our responsibility to just turn away from them. This is masculine literally trying to look at the feminine right now with like a sense of like, and this is almost the masculine again, because this is what we're seeing here for the divine union energy is potentially feminine energy saying to masculine, I don't think you're taking things seriously enough. And masculine saying, I am taking things seriously enough, but your perception on things is different than mine. Because while feminine is looking at outside energy around them right now that they feel like they're trying to like seek approval from, they're trying to like come into a space or place of not feeling that rejection aspect. Masculine's almost saying to feminine, this isn't a situation of outside energy rejecting what you've said to them. This is simply a situation of us rejecting their response to it. Like, that's almost how the masculine's trying to guide the feminine right now, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender. They're trying to change the feminine's perception on something and say, this isn't something that you should be waiting to get something back from outside energy. Instead, you need to think of it from a perception of saying whether you're willing to give them what you have, which is the gift of yourself. That's almost how the masculine's trying to say to feminine right now in divine union. You need to turn the tables on your own perception of things, especially if this energy around you right now is creating any of this conflict. This isn't them rejecting you. This isn't them causing problems to you. This is you saying, you do this and I'm gone. You do this and I'm like not here. That's how the masculine's almost trying to help the feminine. It's all about like helping them see that this can be seen from a different optics. And this is masculine saying, this is why it's not our problem. Because if an energy around us isn't showing that level or capability of support, we don't need them. We don't desire them. Why would we try to seek that out? Feminine, you may be experiencing this, and this could be a little bit of that perception shift that's helping you navigate this. And you could even be looking in divine union right now with a point of like, deep appreciation for recognizing that a masculine has this ability to effectively like turn on and off their emotions a little bit more like a tap, and not letting themselves be emotionally overwhelmed when they feel that from outside energy. That is almost like the point of emotional or energetic note-taking that you yourself are taking right now in divine union or divine partnership. Masculine and feminine that are trying to move into divine union right now. And this is almost, again, if there was a lot of energy trying to come towards feminine and masculine for advice at this time during divine union, and that energy didn't accept it. This is, again, why masculine saying, don't worry about them. It's not our responsibility. They're going to be the way that they are. Masculine and feminine energy right now that are moving into divine union. This is effectively what we are seeing at this time that is creating this moment that feels like it's going to potentially move back into separation. Because again, if these energies, I stress this in the last reading, if these energies maintain consistent communication through the point of crisis, instead of turning to outside energies, then that was the point of feminine feeling confident to continue to move forward into divine union with masculine energy, because feminine energy saw the sea change. They saw the fact that this is a masculine that didn't like dip away or disappear during a difficult moment. Instead, it was a masculine rejecting the opportunity or the possibility of taking these problems to energy around them, effectively rejecting that opportunity and staying focused on the communication with feminine. If masculine energy didn't do that at this time, this is feminine energy that's effectively immediately already, they moved it. Masculine's like discovering that the feminine energy just already moved back into separation, because feminine energy took that as their sign that this was a masculine that would prioritize outside priorities, outside obligations with energy, rather than going towards the feminine. And that's the moment the feminine's like, we're back into separation. Masculine energy, if you're trying to move into divine union and you made this choice, if you were effectively like, asked the feminine for a little bit of a breather, or didn't want to communicate while you were dealing with some of these like outside obligations or circumstances, even if you didn't want to deal with them, because we saw that they were tower moments, you are now experiencing the fact that this is a feminine energy that's effectively like potentially even closed a door on you. There may even be a feeling of some energy that got like blocked in the meantime, because this is, again, a masculine that may be feeling now confused and uncertain. But this is why. This is masculine energy that effectively showed a feminine that during a time of potential crisis, you didn't move closer to the feminine, you moved further away. For the feminine energy in separation right now, this is effectively why we see and recognize that this energy is effectively in a moment where the feminine's not necessarily feeling like their heart is in, allowing for new opportunities of masculine, because they're not necessarily seeing that emotional expression. There's some point right now of the feminine feeling a point of deep frustration as it relates to masculine energy right now, if in separation, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Specifically because we are recognizing and identifying at this time that this is a feminine energy that feels the full weight and frustration of potentially, again, feeling like the present energy that's trying to come towards them isn't in a space where they're really trying to connect emotionally. Or this is feminine energy feeling the frustration in some of the things that they're trying to continue to release karmically right now of a masculine that, again, especially if they just went back into separation, they feel ultimately chose the option or opportunity of leaving their options open and not necessarily giving feminine that emotional offer that creates that state or space of conflict in the feminine. Feminine is effectively almost seeing it for what it is. It's not feeling the longing for something that didn't come. It's feeling like a masculine intentionally chose not to give feminine energy that emotional offer for the sake of preserving the other energy around them that's making feminine feel like that, like their hackles raising. It's making them feel that fire of frustration and potential anger around these circumstances or situations. Continuing to get clarification on these cards between our Three of Cups in its reversal and our Page of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. We love to see this card right now. We've got our Fool energy here. Now, masculine and feminine energy that are moving in divine union and partnership. This is why the masculine energy is effectively, this is how the masculine energy is supporting the feminine through any of these feelings of overwhelm right now. Masculine energy is literally just saying to the feminine, if someone isn't on our side, if someone is causing more frustration than positivity, if someone doesn't necessarily want the advice that we're giving them, if someone like is creating that friction point, then it's fine. The solution is we just move on. The solution is we just continue on our merry way. We don't need to worry. The partnership, this is literally masculine trying to say to feminine, your only point of overwhelm is taking on the problems of others. Just don't worry about them. Don't let them get to you. Don't let it bother you. Focus on the joy that we're creating. Focus on the positivity between us. Let's just use that as we continue forward from this point. Feminine, you may be experiencing this from the masculine, and it is creating that sense. We're seeing that is helping feminine have a bit of that shift. Because again, this is feminine and masculine. How are they going through these points of overwhelm right now if in divine union? They're focusing on the long term. They're focusing on what that looks like in the long term. They're letting that be, they're utilizing that horizon point to help them through any of the immediate hurdles that they're encountering, experiencing. And almost like, again, even if these are personal issues or interpersonal issues that are unfolding around the divine union partnerships right now, it is keeping that eye on the horizon on where you want things to go, and almost saying like, we're going that way. If you want to follow us, that's fine. We're not going to force you. Okay? Masculine energy and feminine that are coming into divine union and partnership right now, this is that moment that we are also identifying the fact that we see here that for those energies, this is a moment that is feeling like either a make or a break point, because this is either the feminine seeing a sea change right now. This is almost a masculine energy if, again, they went through that point of crisis, if they maintained communication, if they maintained contact, if they didn't utilize it as a point of just talking to others about the problems in the partnership, but instead maintain holding that consistency and bringing the problems of the partnership back to the partnership. This is a moment of feminine seeing a masculine that has effectively made these changes. This is a masculine that is off, like almost like saying to the feminine, I have no interest in being around these people. You're like, I'd much rather be with you. This is literally potentially what the masculine has been articulating and amplifying to the feminine over the last few days. And this is what's creating that state or space of easement, because this is saying to them, like, I see that path forward. I see that this is energetically an energy that even during a moment that should be like a source of delight for them, they're almost amplifying to the feminine and saying, I would rather be with you. I would rather be in that modality. I would rather be over there with you. Feminine and masculine, you could be saying this right now to feminine. This can always be a moment and be like, I usually, if this is required some point, we're seeing here a lot of this may have required, even if in trying to come in divine union right now, some point of separation. This is almost the energy saying like, I had to be here, but I would have much rather been with you. Now, masculine and feminine, though, they're in separation. This is effectively why we see that the energy's moved into separation, especially if this is a masculine that broke off communication over the last few days as they were dealing with any kind of circumstances or situations, dealing with anything, even if they said that it wasn't something that they eagerly desired to do. If this is a feminine energy that feels like the masculine wasn't in communication with them during this time, this is almost a feminine energy almost refusing to believe that. This is almost a feminine energy where masculine may be trying to amplify and articulate to the feminine that they were trying to deal with a crisis. And this could be a feminine being like, what crisis? This wasn't a crisis moment. This looks to all intents and purposes like this was something that was probably a lot of fun for you. This seems more to the feminine. Again, if a masculine is trying to say, well, I wasn't talking to you because I was dealing with a lot of stuff and it was very difficult. This is feminine almost looking at masculine and being like, what was very difficult? A party? Was a party very difficult? Because it seems more like you were at some kind of party. You were doing something that felt very positive and you just effectively left me out of it. And that's why we see that this is a feminine that's like walking away from a masculine, because it feels like the feminine is effectively seeing if the masculine did not stay and maintain communication. This is a feminine basically calling them out and saying, I don't feel like you didn't communicate with me because things were too difficult. I feel like you were not communicating with me because things were going too well. Almost amplifying for the feminine in separation and saying a masculine energy in going through difficulty would probably be in a lot of communication, not a little. That a masculine that doesn't communicate a lot is probably going through something that is so much fun that they don't have time to communicate. That's almost what the feminine is saying to themselves as they move forward from here. Masculine energy in separation right now of trying to come back into divine union, and you had a point where you weren't communicating with feminine during a point and trying to articulate that it was a crisis point. This is masculine potentially feeling like a lot of doors effectively just closed around you, because this is feminine energy that's looking at you and saying you're not necessarily someone that sticks around when things are difficult. You're only here to have a good time. You only come towards me to have a good time. And this is masculine that may again be feeling right now of seeing of some kind of feminine energy of feminine that almost feels like it's walking away from you. And you're trying to amplify to them that this isn't necessarily the case. The problem is that you may be doing so in a way that's really hard to articulate and amplify, because everything that you're giving the feminine makes it seem, you're almost like trying to say to the feminine, you are having a very difficult time, but you're like wearing your party hat still. You're like holding your cup. You're like, you don't understand. It was terrible. I was in the trenches. And feminine's almost like, you weren't in the trenches. You were doing something that was super fun, and you're trying to tell me it wasn't fun. But it's very clear that it was fun. And that's why we see that this is, again, if this has effectively happened, and masculine, this is feminine walking away from that masculine. And masculine, you may be feeling a lot of frustration right now on this feminine energy, because like it's almost this sense of feeling like, again, the feminine's kind of called you out to a certain extent here. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. And again, this is almost doubly so because this is masculine that may have had some of these moments that even while they were trying to go into a state of easement were difficult, because what was happening during those situations? Masculine was talking to other people and not necessarily getting back the affirmation that they were desiring. They were getting energy that was giving them a lot of notes, right? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. And that's why feminine is effectively like moving forward at this point. Because again, this is almost feminine that had a bunch of energy that was around them. If the masculine wasn't communicating, that was amplifying to them and saying, this energy is not taking you seriously. This energy has other obligations. If this energy is moving in this modality, it's because they're moving in a state or place of being more concentrating on their own delight than in building the partnership. And this is almost feminine feeling less support of the energy around them as they continue forward, and just feeling the frustration of most masculine energy right now being in this modality. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Cups in combination with our Ten of Cups in combination with our Queen of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. We love this. We've got some catharsis coming through. The last few days have been a little bit heavy. We had some of that tower energy, but now is the time for healing. Now, again, how is this healing coming through right now? Masculine and feminine energy. For the energy that's in partnership, that's what we're seeing here. Masculine is effectively trying to say to feminine and almost trying to help them have optics on this. Which is like, if there's some energy around you that is creating distress, if there's some energy around you that's creating conflict, our job isn't to try to fix that conflict. Our job is to move away from it and focus on our healing. That's literally what the masculine is trying to say to the feminine right now. And how are we doing that? We're going to enjoy the moment. We're going to take the moment as we can, and we're going to focus on creating more positive points of enjoyment in the future. Masculine saying it's that easy. That's what we need to do. We need to focus on the long-term joy and our momentary joy. We need to find the place in between. That'll be our healing. Feminine, you're feeling a little bit more overwhelmed by this because this is almost a feminine looking at masculine and being like, it's so easy for you. How do you stay in that like vibration of letting things like fall off of you like water off your back? And that's because masculine saying like, I have a lot of an easier time turning off my emotions. This is masculine literally saying like, that's what I can do. Feminine's like, I can't do that. And masculine's like, I know, right? This is what we see in the divine union energy that is helping bring some of that healing through. And again, even for the energies that may be reaching this point of conflict right now, and it's coming through in feminine being like, you're not taking things seriously. And masculine saying, you're taking things too seriously. It's that space in between, right? But in a way, and that's the beauty of the divine partnership. That's why the divine union is going to work so well. Because we got a feminine that's over worrying about things and a masculine that's looking for joy. There we go. Nice and in the middle. Everybody heals. Okay? Masculine and feminine energy that is trying to come into divine union and partnership right now. This is what we saw. Because if this was a masculine that maintained communication with feminine through a point of crisis, feminine, like, again, a lot of outside energy around them, a lot of things distracting them, a lot of things pulling their attention. This is a feminine that saw the fact that this is a masculine that was able to really affirm to them that they were the priority. That again, it's almost this moment of masculine amplifying to the feminine. You know, the reason it wasn't perfect was because you weren't there. It wasn't that great to enjoy. There was something I had to do without you, and it wasn't great because you weren't there. And feminine's feeling the weight of healing because this is a feminine that realizes that this is a masculine that sees a future where they want the feminine there, ideally moving into divine union. If masculine energy came into a modality where they were trying to give excuses, where they were trying to say, no, you don't understand. I had to do this fun thing, but it wasn't fun for me. It wasn't fun for me. It was a real chore. You wouldn't have liked it. You wouldn't have wanted to be there. Feminine energy is like outside in. Feminine energy is seeing through that. Feminine energy is seeing through that and being like, this is a masculine that's keeping me out of the energy around them that they're building. This is a masculine that has like a zone that is the things that they hold on to. And then feminine's feeling like the outside, and feminine's almost like saying, I'm moving away from you because you're playing games with me. This is a feminine saying, I am not someone that you're looking towards in the long term. You just showed me or amplified with your choice of not letting me be a part of something and then trying to amplify that something nice was difficult. This is feminine almost looking at that and saying, I just need to heal from this. Because this is a masculine that's almost utilizing their obligations as like a way to push feminine away. And feminine's just seeing it now and healing. Masculine energy and feminine is focusing on their long-term goal and on their healing journey and being very cognizant and feeling like the frustration point is a masculine that seems to effectively only have been utilizing the partnership for the sake of when it feels good for them instead of holding on to them through difficulties. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is a moment that we are effectively seeing that you are, again, you're moving in this modality that may feel very childlike. It may feel very invested in your own interests. You yourself, if in separation right now, you are starting to have that shift of looking about the differentiation point in how you're living your current life versus what that long-term manifestation goal is. And this is a moment that's starting to feel more healing because, again, if in separation, there's something here that you're focusing on that, again, you're feeling like there's something here that is missing. There's something here that feels like it is missing. And again, this is either a moment of masculine. If this is coming into separation right now, you're either, again, having that moment in recognizing and identifying that you need to make some adjustments in the way that you're living your own life right now because it's creating a space or place of pushing the feminine away. So this is something that you need to either internally heal, or this is a moment that you are effectively recognizing and identifying or feeling like you don't understand, or you're like, I don't know why the women around me right now are being so difficult. I don't know why they're all so emotionally overwhelmed. I don't know why they're not necessarily being emotionally receptive to me. I guess I'll just continue to go forward from here on my merry way, but not necessarily recognizing that the reason that is the case is because the feminine sees you in a modality where they feel like you only follow your own bliss. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Cups in its reversal in combination with our 10 of Cups, in combination with our Page of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, we like this, Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles coming through right now. Masculine and feminine energy that are working through divine union and partnership at this time. What we are effectively seeing is a moment where, again, divine union energy is keeping the focus on the long-term goals, the long-term path ahead, what that looks like in the long term. Keeping that focus right now is key. Masculine is creating that feeling of stability right now for feminine, going through any moments or periods of overwhelm at this time. Masculine and feminine are doing this a lot with a lot of care and consideration in open communication. Holding on to those long-term manifestation goals is helping them through any of these hurdles. Masculine is, again, almost in this modality that we're seeing in divine union and partnership at this time, that is creating this space or place that is a balance of the stabilization. This is really interesting. The stability that the masculine is bringing the feminine right now is through positive communication, is through advice, is through guidance, is through communication. Masculine is almost creating that stable center right now in the divine union energy for the feminine that's potentially going through a moment of overwhelm, with that focus in recognizing that the communication right now is key. It's helping feminine have a different opinion on things, having a different take on something right now. Feminine energy right now, this is a moment that, again, you may be trying to say the opposite to masculine. You may be feeling this point of overwhelm that is being expressed. It is articulating your own emotional overwhelm right now, but it's almost bringing some of that inner child energy out. Feminine's almost recognizing right now their own inner child wounds that need to be addressed to a certain capacity, because it's almost this moment of feminine kind of, again, identifying some aspect or sense of self that requires a feeling of approval, but also building that sense of stoicism. Right? This is what feminine is doing right now that is so valuable and important, because this is feminine that is almost like building that sense of stoicism to manifest their long-term manifestation goals with the energy that they feel is aligned to them on that path. Feminine's not in a space or place of trying to mold or adjust that energy. It's now just kind of looking at it and being like, are you stable enough to move forward with, or are you not? Feminine's feeling that, and it's almost amplifying their own approach to the energy that's around them right now. And again, trying to take that same lesson that the masculine is bringing forth to help them navigate or balance out some of that emotional energy. Masculine and feminine trying to come into divine union right now. This is the conflict point. This is where we see the rubber meeting the road, because again, if this was a masculine energy that maintains consistent communication through familial obligations, through any point of energy that required their attention, maybe even potentially articulating to feminine that they were missed, that they were not there. This is a masculine energy that is effectively proving to the feminine that there is a change afoot, that there's something that is shifting here, that there's something that the masculine is effectively bringing towards this feminine that feels like it is stabilizing, that feels like it is concrete. This is the feminine seeing a masculine that is effectively almost amplifying and saying to them, you know, next year I'll do this, or this will happen, and we're going to do this and that. This is a masculine that's almost amplifying that they want to come into a correction point over whatever was going through right now that was requiring their time and energy. Feminine is getting that as affirmation or confirmation that that shift is occurring, moving them into the divine union frequency. If the feminine energy just went through a period of time right now where the masculine had all of this familial responsibility, went through all of this familial responsibility, and instead was in this modality wherein we see there was these points of conflict that were being reached, there were these confusions, there were their circumstances or situations that, again, they almost like feel like they were disconnecting from the feminine, creating those like spaces or places wherein this couldn't occur. This is effectively a feminine energy that's now kind of closing off to that masculine energy, because this is a feminine that's almost saying to the masculine, this is not me being brought into your life. This is me effectively being on the outside looking in. And what we're effectively seeing here for that feminine energy, this is moving you back into separation, because this is again a feminine energy that effectively took their problems, their circumstances, and they spoke to the other healed energy around them at this time. And it was this that we see created this space or state of feminine saying to them to a certain extent, like, listen, this isn't just me feeling like this. This is energy that supports my choice. This is energy that also agrees that I have a right, that feminine has a right to feel like this. This is almost the feminine amplifying this right now to masculine and saying to them, there's something here that needs to be addressed because the energy around me amplified and validated my expression of it. Masculine energy that right now that's trying to come to partnership with feminine. Again, this is a moment that if there is something here, you potentially were not necessarily communicating openly with the feminine during this time. There's a moment now that almost feels like you're trying to come back into the good graces of this energy, but they're very, very closed off. And this is almost, again, a moment that for the masculine energy that's potentially trying to come into divine union at this time, there could be a point of optics in terms of asking yourself, again, masculine's looking at feminine right now from a state or space of emotional overwhelm and not potentially understanding what the problem is. Because it's almost a masculine trying to say, like, I don't see what this is. I want something long-term with you. The problem is that there's something about the slowness that the masculine's bringing this forth right now that is testing or making the feminine question this, especially because the optics of it are such that it doesn't necessarily look like that. Masculine and feminine right now that are in separation. Again, if feminine is in separation right now, this is a feminine that leaving themselves open to new opportunities, new experiences with masculine, with a sense of, again, they're emotionally overwhelmed right now. Feminine's either feeling very emotionally closed off and distant. There may be a feeling of like almost phoning something in, as it were. But more than anything right now, what we're effectively seeing is this is the feminine that is focusing through any states or places of emotional overwhelm on their long-term manifestation goals, on what they're trying to create for themselves. That's that point of the feminine taking these new approaches, leaving themselves receptive to communication, but also making sure that that energy does have a very clear perception and can amplify and articulate what it is that they're exactly looking for in the long term. Masculine energy and separation right now, this could be feeling like a moment of, again, masculine may even be, again, looking outside for support and advice right now because there's a feeling of feminine effectively being very closed off to masculine at this time. This is almost a masculine that's looking right now and, again, either having this sense of personal change that is afoot, allowing this to be a growth moment, allowing this to be a moment of saying to themselves, almost like confirming through some of the information that you've received from energy around you right now, those points of advice that were difficult to hear. Almost telling yourself that this is that amplification of making these determined changes for yourself to lead to that long-term positive outcome. Or this is masculine energy that's effectively going rogue, if you will. They're going on their own. They're taking this on themselves. They're almost saying to themselves, I don't need to be in partnership. I don't need feminine energy. I just need to focus on myself, because it's that pushing away. Again, the child is pushing the lesson away. And they're kind of filling their own cup and just bringing this to themselves, focusing on that long-term goal, but almost like, again, much like we saw the feminine, not necessarily worrying about partnership so much. Masculine almost saying like, it's okay, the solution is I just won't come into divine union. I don't necessarily need the feminine energy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Between our Knight of Cups in its reversal, in combination with our Fool card. So, may I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Emperor in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy that are trying to come in, that are in divine union and partnership. This is one of the things that we are seeing that is feeling like a little bit of a challenging space right now, even for the energy in divine union and partnership right now. Because there is something here that we're also seeing. It's not the fact that whatever this is, it's not the fact that some of this outside energy doesn't necessarily impact masculine to a certain degree. It's more the fact that the masculine energy is going through something. Again, masculine energy doesn't like to be in spaces or places where they feel like that emotionality is being rejected, where they feel like, again, something that they're trying to put forward in an emotional way is not necessarily being accepted. It's almost the masculine almost identifying that feeling of a loss of control in those areas is what pushes the masculine energy forward. It's almost like that sense of recognizing that that's just something that they want to walk away from. Masculine energy is almost like this is one of the hurdles that may need to be navigated even for the energy in divine union right now, because this could be expressing itself as the fact of a masculine, not necessarily experience, like they're also experiencing to a certain extent. I have to stress this. This is a masculine is actually feeling the same way that the feminine is. These energies are mirroring each other in divine union right now. But what we're effectively identifying right now is this is a masculine energy that basically is amplifying the fact that if an energy doesn't want to accept what they're giving them, if this is a masculine energy that isn't having that energy received back in kind, then this is almost a state or space where the masculine, much unlike the feminine trying to like correct or adjust for it, masculine's almost like that's a bridge too far. Masculine's like it's not his, like masculine does not feel it's their role or responsibility to navigate through a situation or circumstance where what they're trying to emotionally offer someone isn't being received. This is almost a masculine just feeling the weight of the instability of it and just telling themselves that they're going to continue to move forward from that point. Feminine, you may be seeing this right now. You may be feeling and experiencing this on the part of the masculine energy, and you may be seeing the fact that there is something here that feels like it is a little avoidant in the masculine, and this may be a conversation that is amplified or articulated even in divine union right now, is the fact of the feminine allowing themselves to feel more crushed or overburdened when things get difficult, and masculine potentially being a little too flippant to like walk away from things, right? This could be a little bit of that challenging space right now, even in the divine union energy. Masculine and feminine energy right now. But again, and I think that this is because masculine almost feels to a certain extent that there's something that needs to be articulated and amplified about the fact that masculine has seen other masculine energy that effectively uses the withdrawal of their emotionality as a form or system of control. This could literally be masculine trying to amplify that as well right now. Masculine almost saying like, not on my watch, not to me, right? Almost to some of the energies outside of the partnership. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is trying to come into divine union, what we're effectively seeing at this time is this is that moment that we are seeing is a bit of that make or break point, but we're almost seeing it's already happened. Whatever was going to occur happened over the last couple of days, because what we effectively saw was, again, a bit of a tower moment coming, right? A point of crisis. Feminine needed masculine. Masculine was not there. Masculine felt like they had priorities outside the partnership. Feminine felt like they also had priorities outside the partnership. If these energies did not maintain strong, consistent communication, this was potentially immediately back into separation energy, because again, feminine was almost saying to the masculine at this time, again, if the feminine received that consistent communication, this is feminine energy breaking away from anything that they feel was the past. This is almost potentially feminine saying, I see the change in this energy. This is no longer an energy that, isn't a like, what do we kept using the term? Isn't a constant gardener. This is an energy that has worked to correct their imbalances. This is an energy that is taking a new approach in spaces or places where potentially in the past they may have been more distant. This is feminine seeing that change and feeling validated to continue forward on this journey into divine union. Whereas masculine, you may also be seeing and experiencing this if continuing forward into divine union as well, because there's a point of observation right now in accommodating or making adjustments for spaces and places where you realize that sometimes you're not as emotionally present as you need to be, and recognizing that when you're not emotionally present, when you're not emotional gardener, like when you're not that constant gardener, it's like you lose what you are tending. Right? This is almost that lesson that masculine's learning here. And this is masculine trying to amplify that they're recognizing these lessons and they're going to do better going forward. Masculine, though, and feminine, if this was a masculine that did not maintain consistent, steady communication throughout what was feeling like a crisis point for the feminine, this is a feminine almost saying to the masculine, you weren't here when I needed you. You weren't here when I needed you. And this is feminine moving right back into separation. Feminine saying, I'm leaving this behind because you effectively have shown to a certain extent that you can't be emotionally consistent And this doesn't feel like something wherein we have that constant cultivation, the constant curation, building something that feels like it's growing. It feels more like a sense of control. It feels more like something that is only on your terms when you are feeling open and accommodating to it, as opposed to something that you are continually nurturing, putting energy in, caring for, being that constant gardener on. Masculine energy, if in separation right now, again, you may be feeling like, again, if this is a moment with masculine that was trying to say to feminine, well, I had other obligations. This could even be a masculine trying to like have gone to something that looks like very pleasant on the outside, trying to amplify to feminine, being like, it wasn't pleasant. I was dealing with unpleasant things. Masculine is potentially seeing the fact that it's even hard to articulate and amplify that, because again, you're like literally like, you still got your party hat on. You know what I mean? Like, this is almost a moment where it's like, it sure doesn't look like something that was difficult, is almost what's happening to a certain extent. For masculine energy, the reason it might have been difficult is, as we indicated, there may have been some difficult conversations that potentially came up where you got some harsh notes about your own behavior, especially if you are articulating those problems to outside energy instead of focusing on the partnership. This is why we see that this is either a moment of masculine coming into a maturation process, if in separation, recognizing that inability to be consistent with emotional offers is effectively what effectively loses the ability to maintain something. You don't get to hold on to something if you don't take care of it, is the lesson coming through right now for the masculine energy in separation. This is not something, and again, this is a problem that the masculine potentially recognizes. Masculine, you may even recognize that you had a little bit of an issue of overwatering something, knowing that you weren't going to be present. This could be a moment that may have been amplified to masculine, and feminine potentially seeing it in separation. That is also why feminine's moving back into separation, of saying, and this is why the consistency is key. This is a feminine that's now looking potentially at a masculine and being like, the problem isn't that they don't have the capacity to dote. This isn't a feminine. Masculine has a capacity. Feminine has seen this masculine energy, lay it on thick, but feminine energy has also recognized that masculine, if this is a masculine that they're walking away from, this is a masculine energy that has a tendency of not being a constant gardener. This is a masculine energy that has a tendency of pouring the whole pitcher of water onto the plant, knowing they're going to disappear for a week. This is an imbalanced garden. This is a garden of a masculine that almost prepares for their disappearances by laying things on heavy and then pulling away. Masculine, the feminine that's seeing this right now, this is the lesson that the feminine's taking and being like, this is why there's an incongruity. This is why there is an incongruity in this energy, because feminine is now seeing through this point of observation. It's not the fact that this energy doesn't have the capacity to be very expressive, to be very emotional. It's that this energy does so in spades in anticipation of disappearing, in anticipation of knowing that there's something here that they're going to overpour into and then pull away from, right? Overwater and then let dry up. Overwater and then let dry up. Feminine's effectively saying no more of that. Moving forward, consistency is key. Masculine, this is either an internal journey, a recognition that you yourself have this habit of doing this, or feeling to a certain extent, again, a moment right now that could be feeling a little frustrating for masculine, because it is a point of masculine effectively feeling to a certain extent that the energy around you right now doesn't necessarily feel like it's on your side. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's coming from a state or place that it's like really, it's like, again, masculine may be moving right now from a space or place where you were looking for that sense of validation from some of the other energy around you right now, but you're not getting it. A lot of the energy doesn't seem like, if this is a point of separation where you're trying to articulate your own expression about frustrations, you may have been feeling a lot of frustration because it wasn't coming through in a state or space that you like recognized or felt like it was like energy was aligning to you. It's almost like saying like they were almost like moving in the vibration of recognizing and saying like, no, I understand what they were seeing. And again, this is either a moment that is almost affirming to the masculine through this period, because this is also potentially masculine energy that's now trying to move back to the feminine that they weren't in communication with, that they were potentially talking to others about. And now feeling like that feminine energy has a bit of a door closed on them. So again, this is either a masculine energy that's allowing this to be an internal process of growth. You're learning, you're understanding your own potential fallibility in this idea of being a constant gardener. Or this is a moment of masculine, almost like getting so frustrated, feeling like all of this is externalized, objectifying all of this energy, being like, all of you are against me. Like both the people in the relationship, both the energy around me, I'm going back, I'm going away, I'm going this way, I'm just taking off, right? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Beautiful cards in combination. We have here our Fool and our Three of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Hierophant in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now, even if you're in divine union and partnership, there is a moment of taking unconventional approaches, taking some new opportunities. And this is what's very important about the divine union energy, is this moment that we're effectively seeing. And again, it's almost the fact that the divine union is proving and almost saying that the commitments outside of the divine union partnership, they're not as important. It's like, again, it's fine. That's why we see masculine and feminine energy taking some unconventional approaches right now, because it's almost amplifying that the commitment to the partnership and the divine union exists in the divine union. That is the commitment. And that commitment is effectively breaking the commitments that feel like they are imbalanced in the life of the energy itself. It's almost this moment of saying, like, that's not where my attention goes. That's not where my importance goes. These are the spaces and places that are important. And feminine and masculine are moving forward in that modality, and it feels like a healing journey, because it is the choice effectively of the partnership that is allowing for that healing to occur. And it's not letting any of those other bounds or those unhealthy partnerships continue. It's almost like recorrecting anything that feels like it is imbalanced in the process. Masculine and feminine energy, and again, it may be dealing with some points of fracture right now as it relates to commitments outside of the partnerships. Masculine and feminine energy right now, be these friendships, familial, etc. Masculine and feminine trying to come into divine union right now, this is a bit of that make or break point that we're effectively seeing, because what we're really identifying here is this is energy if in divine union and partnership, or trying to come into divine union or partnership, that either we just saw that this was proved. This was like a testing ground. The last few days were a testing ground to see if this change has actually been sticking, because we see here that this was either an energy. The energy needed the support. The energy needed to have that underpinning of support around them at this time. And we're effectively seeing at this moment that this is either divine feminine, divine masculine energy coming into divine union right now, because feminine sees and masculine see the fact that ultimately they're sticking together on this. They're healing, they're continuing forward on a healing journey. They're choosing each other beyond outside commitments. Or this is exactly why we see these moving back into separation. This is and it's feeling like a fast break. Feminine is not sticking around here. If this was a masculine that kind of put them off or like overgave them in a moment that they were going to pull away, because feminine saying that in itself is not the consistency. That's not the constant gardener energy that the feminine is looking for in divine union and partnership at this time. Feminine's just walking away from it, having felt like the energy around them further amplified and confirmed their anxieties and their fears. Masculine energy, if in separation right now, there could be a moment that's again potentially happening where some of the energy around you right now, they gave you some notes that were very hard or difficult to bear. Again, if you're trying to move into partnership right now with a feminine, if you did this work of continuing to stay in communication with them during this period, we see that this is a bit of a change, because it was a moment that, again, you are feeling like your own commitments lie elsewhere. You may have been somewhere and felt like you weren't necessarily like, in the space that you should be. You felt like you should have been somewhere else. That was almost reaffirming the fact that you're moving into divine union right now. Masculine energy right now that is in separation, it is this moment that you may be suddenly feeling like something that happened over the last few days just fundamentally broke what was starting to feel like a partnership. This is that moment that you may be trying to rush back to something to heal or repair a partnership, that you're suddenly realizing just got fundamentally broken in the time that you were trying to put some distance there. It's almost this point of trying to rush back to something right now, recognizing that the way you approach something was effectively prioritizing outside energy instead of the partnership. The problem is that this partnership was already very, very damaged to begin with. And this is a moment that you may be trying to rush back to create or provide some healing here. Feeling like the energy itself, this could even be a masculine energy that's having some energy like breaking off a commitment right now, or saying to them to a certain extent like this isn't going to work, and masculine trying to rush in and say, what's the problem here? What's going wrong? And feminine, maybe not necessarily, feminine's going to potentially articulate this. Masculine energy that's in separation right now, this could also be a moment that you're feeling like, again, this isn't necessarily even related specifically just to relationships right now. This could be any point of conflict that may have risen up over the last few days, given the fact that some energy around you was trying to bring some notes to you at this time. We're trying to bring some observations that may have been difficult to bear. So either this is the masculine, if in separation, affirming their own healing journey, breaking away from anything they feel is keeping them off of their healing path, or this is a masculine energy striking out on their own, just like leaving everything behind, leaving everyone behind, leaving all of their commitments behind for the sake of what they're like, not even necessarily knowing what they're going to find, but just deciding like anywhere but here kind of energy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Knight of Pentacles. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Swords in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy that are moving in divine union right now. This is why the divine union is sticking. This is why the divine union is building so much momentum right now, because it is something that is creating a deep sense of healing for all energy involved. Masculine is, again, what is happening? What is happening in the energies of the divine union right now? Masculine energy is proving to be a constant gardener. They are showing the stability and ability to maintain a level of consistency. The consistency is key. The consistency is key. Masculine is teaching themselves how to do this right now. The partnership itself, the divine union itself is one that masculine is constantly feeling that level or degree of easement and constantly building this stability for. It doesn't even feel like a choice to the masculine. It feels like, why would I choose anything else? Why would I choose to do this in any other way? Because it's literally creating healing for the masculine. It's feeling like a healing journey internally for the masculine to create this level or degree of constant stability to a circumstance or situation. Feminine, you are feeling this right now from a masculine energy that you know is there, that you know is always there. Even if things are difficult, even if things are like, regardless of where they are, it is the consistency. It is the ability of that energy to always arrive, to always be there, to always be trying to like continue to let this be a growth and a healing journey that is further enabling you to stay consistent in your own path of moving into divine union with this energy. Masculine and feminine energy, if you are moving into divine union and you saw this over the last few days, over something that felt like a crisis point, if instead of both energies separating off into their own modalities, but masculine really continuing to show that level and ability and degree of stability, that constant support to the feminine, even at a moment that was difficult for the masculine, even for a moment that felt like a point of crisis for the masculine, this is a feminine energy that, again, is feeling that love and that care for that masculine energy moving into divine union, because this is a feminine that says, even this is a masculine that is there, not just when I need them, not just when I need that healing, but when it's hard for them, they are still there. They don't go anywhere. They still maintain that level of consistency. And again, this is moving you immediately continuing forward into that divine union frequency. Where if this was a masculine energy that just went through the last few days, tried to amplify into feminine, may even be trying to say right now, you don't understand, it looked like it was really fun. It wasn't really fun. I was working. This was really hard. This was really hard for me. You don't understand it. This wasn't a good time for me. This is literally a feminine saying that's not true. This is feminine saying it doesn't matter if it was. This is the feminine saying, I require an energy that is constant, that is a constant gardener, that shows a level and degree of consistency more than anything, and that this is not a situation that you can effectively say, you cannot overwater the flower and then believe that the flower will be there when you come back. This is a feminine almost saying, I'm moving away from you to find an energy that is stable, find an energy that is constant, to show an energy that recognizes that the way that you grow something is not to overwater it and to disappear, but that you're constantly pouring that same dependable, reliable level of care and concentration to something. And this is a feminine that if a masculine tried to lay it on really heavy before disappearing to deal with outside energy, feminine saying, I see you. I see what you do. I see how you do it. And I'm not accepting it. Masculine energy, if you're in this modality, you may be having this articulated to you right now. You may have a feminine that's pointing out and saying, you know what I think you did? I think that you gave me a lot prior to disappearing, knowing you were going to have to go away, knowing that you had obligations you didn't want me a part of. So this is something where you poured a lot of energy into something and then disappeared. And feminine saying, I'm healing from that. I don't need that. Masculine energy, you may be trying to amplify to that energy right now, potentially trying to articulate and say that's not the case, but it may be feeling very hard because, as I said, this is literally a situation where you're like walking out of the party, holding a cup, wearing a party hat, saying, no, it was terrible. It was really difficult. It was not fun for me. I was working. I was doing hard work. Masculine energy in this modality, this was hard work because you probably had a lot of people coming towards you right now trying to heal you by giving you some insight in terms of the things you're telling them that don't necessarily add up, or that they're trying to give you some insight on your own correction points, things that you need to adjust within your own self right now. And again, for masculine energy and separation, this is going to feel like a lot of that healing coming through. And again, it may even created some friction point right now with some outside energy around you right now that may need some point of healing. This could be masculine, potentially even in separation right now, not even necessarily going towards energy right now that is partnership energy. This is potentially trying to heal any kind of wounds that may have opened over the last few days with positive healed karmic energy, especially if there was some kind of point of conflict in what the masculine energy and separation received that was given with a sense of care, but may not necessarily have been received as such. For masculine energy in this modality, this is potentially not even moving away from partnership energy right now. This is potentially trying to offer some means of apology in terms of getting too heated around something that someone was trying to say to you from the most genuine place possible. Again, this is either a masculine energy that is trying to take this lesson right now and bring it forward. Again, if moving into divine union with feminine, saying, I see that I need to change these things about the self. I see that I recognize that these are things that I need to correct for. This is the masculine energy almost, again, taking that point of accountability and making that point of adjustment. Or this is a masculine energy that's going out alone. This is a masculine energy, and I say this is masculine energy breaking away not just from partnership energy, maybe even from some healthy karmic energy around them right now, and saying, I'm in this all for myself. It's just me against the world. Potentially some of that continuation of the persecution narrative coming back into play. So, continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between the Emperor energy in its reversal in combination with our Hierophant in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now in divine union and divine partnership. This is a moment. There may be some feelings right now of outside situations and circumstances that are reaching some point of fracture. We saw here, this is why we see the energy in separation right now starting to connect with the energy in divine union and partnership, because this has to do with some partnerships around you that are potentially fracturing right now. And again, there could even be a moment right now of feeling like you're being kind of forced or put in positions of having to take sides. For masculine and feminine energy in this modality right now, this could be some of the weight. It may not necessarily even be in the divine union itself. It's having to experience some energies around you that are fracturing. Did you hear what I'm saying right now? It's happening right now with the energy in separation, the energy coming to others for advice and insight. This is that moment that again, there may even be, and this could be a little bit of the problem right now, for some of the divine union energy, there may be a difference of opinion, even in the divine union, in how to navigate some of these circumstances or situations. There could even be a feeling right now, if these are outside situations or circumstances that you're potentially dealing with, of feeling like your sense or your level of, there's some kind of choice that you're effectively having to make. But what we like about this for the divine union energy right now is almost this point of observation and saying the choice that the divine union energy is making right now is not necessarily making a choice. We're almost looking at energy that's making them feel like they have to take a choice or make a choice, and saying that's probably not the energy that we need to align with, because that's almost creating a space or place of like trying to like build out something that doesn't feel healthy or productive. This is what we said, really articulating right now for a lot of that divine union energy. It's not the problem of the partnership itself. It has to do with a lot of the energies around them. Again, either having to experience some of the circumstances happening around them and just determining what to do about them. Masculine and energy, feminine energy in divine union right now are almost taking a little bit of a hands-off approach and saying to a certain extent, we're here to support, but we're not here to create further levels or degree of fracture. Right? That's almost where the fact that the energy of the divine union is really coming into the point of power right now. It's almost like helping to really recognize and identify anything that feels like it's polarizing and saying, well, we don't want any of that. We're just trying to create a space or place of like support. Masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union. This is why we see so much of this energy is moving right back into separation right now, because again, the last few days were like a lot of this heavy energy in terms of feeling the weight of whether something could persist through what felt like a bit of a crisis. For a lot of the energy that we're seeing here right now, this is a moment where again, feminine energy, if there was a point, and this is what was so important for the energy trying to come into divine union right now, there's a moment that again, it almost having to deal with these circumstances not together was the part that was difficult. It was feeling the fracture there. It was feeling the separation above all things. That in itself is what's showing or identifying the fact that the divine union is effectively what the concentration point is. Because this is really identifying for those energies trying to come in divine union that again, more than anything, even having to deal with outside obligations, it just really stressed the fact that you would rather have been in union or in partnership. Masculine and feminine energy, if you navigated these circumstances or situations, if masculine pulled away from the feminine, told them that they had other things that they had to do, potentially even like overly gave to feminine knowing and then kind of disappeared. This is a feminine energy that has basically said enough is enough is enough is enough is enough, because we effectively saw that this was feminine energy that moved towards healthy karmic energy that almost also looked at feminine and said enough. This is not something we feel is best for you. This is not something that seems like it is an equal partnership. This is something that feels like more it's something that is control-based or something that allows for like some imbalance that does not necessarily look like real commitment. This is almost feminine getting outside support in that, as that's furthering amplifying the feminine moving into separation in this capacity. Masculine energy, if in separation right now, this could be a feeling where you're just kind of like done with any partnerships right now at all. And again, this is either a point of confirmation, this is a point of observation, some difficult conversations were potentially had over the last few days that helped you see how you might be standing in your own way as it relates to coming into divine union. And that is a hard lesson, but we see that for the divine masculine, for the energy right now of masculine, that is trying to move into partnership. This is a note that you're taking. This is a change. This is something that you yourself are recognizing, though it may be painful, because you're really seeing now, you're understanding why something happened the way that it did, why you are in separation. Something over the last few days may have been optics that were given to you that created that point of clarity and really identifying and understanding what went wrong. But that is a positive, because something that you understand went wrong is something that you can correct. So this is masculine either putting a lot of focus right now in allowing for that point of self-correction to allow this to be a point of easement going forward, or if you are a masculine that is not embodying these lessons right now, this could be a moment that you are effectively almost saying like, I don't want partnership. I don't want partnership at all. The problem with this right now is this is even beyond partnership right now. This could be a moment where the masculine has almost like broken some friendships up or created some difficulties in their own interpersonal relationships right now due to the fact that some energy was trying to help them become aware of their own tendencies. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Hierophant in its reversal in combination with our Two of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Nine of Wands in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy that is in divine union and divine partnership. This is the thing. Feminine and masculine energy are literally saying to themselves, if in divine union and partnership, like the choice that they're making is not to let themselves be like, affected by anything that feels like it's trying to like fracture or break the partnership right now. It's almost this moment of, again, feminine and masculine energy saying to themselves, we're going to be a part of the solution. We're not going to be a part of the problem. We're not going to let ourselves navigate in a space or place that feels like it isn't productive, that feels like it's not positive. Masculine and feminine energy are effectively almost like validating to themselves in divine union and partnership the fact that they're trying to do everything they can to move in a space or place of positivity. And that even requires them to effectively take some unconventional approaches at this time. More than anything, what we appreciate for the divine feminine and divine masculine energy in partnership or divine union right now, this is a moment that's really like, it feels like you're leaving yourself, you're like, almost saying to yourself, like, again, there's that need or desire. We're almost seeing to like, feminine almost like wants to close up here right now. Masculine saying like, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to let ourselves be impacted or affected by these things. We are going to allow ourselves to continue to embody what we're creating for ourselves. We're going to take unconventional approaches as we need to and recognize that any energy that means to be creating like unhealthy energy around us, anything that doesn't feel like it is navigating in terms of feeling that like appreciation for what we provide in a commitment, then that's simply something that we need to move away from. It's masculine energy, like, and feminine almost taking this like wait or see approach. Again, almost like having this point of recognizing and saying that the choice that they're making forward with right now is not to go around feeling like that anxiety in terms of outside energy, even if there is some energy right now that is in need of healing or in need of repair. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is trying to come into divine union, this is, again, the last few days have effectively been confirmation as to whether these energies could move into divine union or not, because what we're effectively seeing right now is a moment that almost, again, being in separation amplified how important the partnership is, and there was active communication throughout it about the other person and the desire to build that point of unity there. Or there is a moment that we're effectively seeing in this modality wherein this was the partnership coming back into complete separation. This is the energy basically effectively saying, I didn't see that you made the choice to choose the partnership. Feminine got more confirmation of that in terms of the positive energy around them, amplifying to them potentially if they were in that modality. This does not look like a partnership that you're in. What you're articulating doesn't sound like a partnership. It sounds like it is creating the opposite of a partnership. That's why feminine's almost continuing to break away from this, is that amplification of reassurance from positive karmic energies around them, giving them guidance at this time. While masculine energy in separation right now, this is that observation point that you may be seeing about your own problems or difficulties centered around commitment. Having this point of adjusting, again, either this being an internal moment of change, recognizing your own need to change as it relates to your perception on commitment at this time, or this is a moment that we are effectively seeing that you are potentially just walking away from anything that feels like it is a broken commitment, potentially not necessarily offering that apology or that point of concession, but instead saying, I'm just going to continue forward if this is a lesson that isn't necessarily as desired to be grasped at this time. Final card for today's spread between our Two of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Wands in its reversal. A bit of heavy energy today. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with strength. Holding strength today is going to be key for all energies at play, masculine and feminine, whether you're in partnership or whether you're not, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in working towards or in divine union, are now pretty much working towards divine union. The energy that's made it through this gauntlet right now, that's still in the divine union frequency, it's looking like you're pretty much back into divine union. We're starting to see that separation point where the energies coming in are effectively there rather than not there. Masculine and feminine energy right now, again, it is this point of, again, looking at circumstances and situations, and this is what is really important at this time. It is feeling less like what's keeping you apart is each other, and more about doing everything you can to stay together through things. It's almost this moment of trying to take down the walls that are blocking you from being in partnership. This is like trying to just say to themselves, like energy and divine unions, like we just need to stay together and we need to keep holding on to each other if there's anything trying to pull us apart. That is the beauty right now of the divine union energy. And this is feminine and masculine being very strong in that modality. And this is why the masculine and feminine energy that is in this modality is dealing with a lot of energy that feels like either they're trying to pull them apart, or it makes them feel to a certain extent like they're having to deal with a lot of issues right now around outside energy that is having these problems. Giving that point of insight. Again, feeling this point of openness, trying to be open, even saying some things right now that feel like they may be hard for energy to hear, but almost saying like to them, like, it's our responsibility to tell them this. It's our responsibility to be open in this. Like, we have to do these things. And that's that moment that, again, requires that act of strength. Masculine and feminine energy that is trying to come into divine union right now, you are effectively feeling like this. This is the same thing that we're effectively seeing here. This is energy that says, almost feels like the experiences that happened right now felt like they were like set to pull them apart. And this is masculine and feminine almost saying to each other, you know, I just want to be closer to you. Like the thing that happened right now is like, I just wish that you were there. I just wish that you were there to be like, support me. I wish that you were there in that capacity. And that is what's further strengthening the partnership. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, this is why we see the separation occurring. Because this is feminine that feels like there is no equality here. There isn't something here that feels like it brought them together. It just feels like a masculine that continues to articulate the fact that they're not ready to come into partnership. And this is feminine saying, I'm not staying in something that doesn't feel like it is an equal reciprocal give and take. Feminine's allowing this to be a moment of feeling the frustration of something that is not, being very open about it, telling others about it, sharing that and getting the amplification of support, because the energy around them is basically validating to them right now and saying, you're right. It doesn't sound like that. We support you. We support your choices. Masculine in separation right now, the problem we're potentially seeing here is something that is being articulated to you. Maybe you are also being open. You are also getting notes on why this doesn't feel like an equal partnership. It is also requiring a point of strength for you because something that you are being told or something that you have received has been hard to experience or to hear. And this is a moment that is also challenging you because there's a moment here about asking yourself if you're going to try to mend the circumstance. And this might not necessarily even be romantic right now. This could actually just be like actual friendships that now need some healing. Or if this is something that you're going to break away from that is also requiring a point of strength. Bottom of the deck for this reading today is Ace of Swords. Everyone's feeling a little vulnerable today. I want you to bear that in mind. I want you to be a little kind to each other. Remember that everybody's going through their own personal battles. The most we can do is be supportive and kind to each other as we proceed forward from this point. Some of this is going to feel like a level or degree of exhaustion, but I need to say that one of the advantages that we see with our Ace of Swords in its reversal is this is a moment of surrender that allows victory. There's some moments that, like, again, this is a point we keep seeing for the divine feminine, divine masculine energy. There's a lot of consideration right now about choosing your battles. There's a lot of battles around you. You just have to pick which ones to fight. Or almost a point of recognizing that sometimes the best way to fight a battle is not to fight. It's just to kind of continue forward and let the energy find you where they will. Masculine and feminine energy right now that are coming into divine union, this is surrendering to the divine union. This is this point of, again, losing that anxiety or that excitement for things outside of the union is almost amplifying in the fact that it's almost like this point of just like wanting to come back to the partnership itself is further building that sense of affirmation that this is something that is desired. Masculine, feminine energy in separation right now, this is a letting go process. This is hard for the feminine. The feminine doesn't want to let go in this way, but this is the feminine that is observing a lack of potential reciprocity around some circumstances and situations that feminine does not have the ability to correct because it's not existing or being started within the feminine. It's something that they are experiencing. While masculine in separation right now, there's a moment that is some of that ego death that we saw that was potentially rising to the surface, having to have a point of recognizing that either some period of the past that you were moving in some certain vibration has effectively ended, or that this is something, again, that you have to come to a point of concession on. This may require some point of accountability or apology. That is our daily collective read for today. I'd like to thank you so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never inbox you. I will never DM you. I will never slide into your PMs and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these readings. And we will do this again.